وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ.
وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Quran Circle 2. I'm Arkham Rashid, your host. For this episode, we have selected the theme generosity versus stinginess, and we will be reciting a selection from Surah At-Tawbah. So let's start off by welcoming and introducing our guest for today. On my right hand side, I have Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, just a quick question before I introduce our reciters. Surah At-Tawbah is the only surah in the Quran that doesn't have Bismillah before it. What's the significance for that?
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam wa rasulullah wa ba'd. First, to show the precision of the Quran that we have today is exactly the same way that was written at the time of Uthman radiallahu anhu. So when they didn't write Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim before Surah At-Tawbah, you find it still not there. And that is because of two reasons. The first reason, as the ulama they say, that Surah Al-Anfal and the Tawbah as if it's one surah. That's why there's no Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because the companions radiallahu anhum, whenever they would hear Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim from the Prophet ﷺ, that marks the beginning of a surah. So they didn't hear it from the Prophet ﷺ, so they didn't write it. The second reason is because of the subject of Surah At-Tawbah. There has no mercy in it whatsoever. It's all exposing the hypocrites and the disbelievers and fighting for the sake of Allah and so on. So there's no concept of mercy in the surah, and that's why they said the wisdom behind it, that maybe the Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is not mentioned there.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now I'm going to introduce our reciters for today. On my right hand side, I have Qari Ahmad Rajab. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And next to him, we have Qari Muhammad Noor. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
So starting us off today with his wonderful recitation is Qari Ahmad Rajab. So enjoy.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إن كثيرا من الأحبار والرهبان ليأكلون أموال الناس بالباطل ويصدون عن سبيل الله والذين يكنزون الذهب والفضة ولا ينفقونها في سبيل الله فبشرهم بعذاب أليم يوم يحمى عليها في نار جهنم فتكوى بها جباههم وجنوبهم وظهورهم هذا ما كنزتم لأنفسكم فذوقوا ما كنتم تكنزون إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم وقاتلوا المشركين كافة كما يقاتلونكم كافة واعلموا أن الله مع المتقين إنما النسيء زيادة في الكفر يضل به الذين كفروا يحلونه عاما ويحرمونه عاما ليواطئوا عدة ما حرم الله فيحلوا ما حرم الله. زين لهم سوء أعمالهم والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ما لكم إذا قيل لكم انفروا في سبيل الله اثاقلتم إلى الأرض أرضيتم بالحياة الدنيا من الآخرة فما متاع الحياة الدنيا في الآخرة إلا قليل. إلا تنفروا يعذبكم عذابا أليما ويستبدل قوما غيركم ولا تضروه شيئا والله على كل شيء قدير. إلا تنصروه فقد نصره الله إذ أخرجه الذين كفروا ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا فأنزل الله سكينته عليه وأيده بجنود لم تروها وجعل كلمة الذين كفروا السفلى وكلمة الله هي العليا والله عزيز حكيم. انفروا خفافا وثقالا وجاهدوا بأموالكم وأنفسكم في سبيل الله ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. لو كان عرضا قريبا وسفرا قاصدا لاتبعوك ولكن بعدت عليهم الشقة وسيحلفون بالله لو استطعنا لخرجنا معكم يهلكون أنفسهم والله يعلم إنهم لكاذبون. عفى الله عنك لم أذنت لهم حتى يتبين لك الذين صدقوا وتعلم الكاذبين. لا يستأذنك الذين يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر أن يجاهدوا بأموالهم وأنفسهم والله عليم بالمتقين. إنما يستأذنك الذين لا يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر وارتابت قلوبهم فهم في ريبهم يترددون. ولو أرادوا الخروج لأعدوا له عدة ولكن كره الله بعاثهم فثبطهم وقيل اقعدوا مع القاعدين لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا لو خرجوا فيكم ما زادوكم إلا خبالا ولأوضعوا خلالكم يبغونكم الفتنة وفيكم سماعون لهم والله عليم بالظالمين لقد ابتغوا الفتنة من قبل وقلبوا لك الأمور حتى جاء الحق وظهر أمر الله لقد ابتغوا الفتنة من قبل وقلبوا لك الأمور حتى جاء الحق وظهر أمر الله وهم كارهون ومنهم من يقول ائذن لي ولا تفتني ألا في الفتنة سقطوا وإن جهنم لمحيطة بالكافرين.
Jazakum Allah khair. Thank you very much, Qari Ahmed. That was a wonderful recitation. Thank you. Sheikh, I want to start with the first verse that he recited. The part where it says, الَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ. What is this talking about? Who are these people?
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. It's talking about those who would not give the zakah and do not give their rights or their wealth. And the dhahab and the fidda referring to the wealth in general. And if they don't give that portion, which is a very small portion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory for those who are rich to give their zakah, and they don't spend it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warning them a severe warning. And that warning or this punishment is mentioned in more details in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that is explained in the next verse, in which in the Day of Judgment, before even entering the hellfire, in the Day of Judgment itself, there will be made a space. And those who withhold any of their wealth, they will be punished with that wealth in the Day of Judgment. If it's cattle, for example, these cattle will come and they would run over that person back and forth in a day that its length 50,000 years long. If it's gold and silver, if it's money and so on, then it will be made plated of fire and they will be branded with it on their backs and their foreheads, as it's mentioned in the verse. This is before they enter the hellfire. Till Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, either they would be forgiven or they would still enter the hellfire.
Okay, and the next question I want to ask you, it's slightly off topic. In the verse number 36, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that according to Him, the months are 12 in a year. So now, for example, if God is telling us that there's 12 months, and say we want to start using 13 months, is this allowed or we have to stick to 12?
It's definitely not allowed because it's only 12 months. Especially that the months that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed for us, the acts of worship are related to it. So the month of Ramadan, for example, it's a specific month. If, for example, people choose to fast in a different month, it won't be accepted from them. The same thing with Hajj. Somebody maybe says, well, let's make Hajj during the winter time. It's not something for us, it's something that is decreed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's the 12 months, the lunar months, the Hijri calendar. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and earth. And that's why it's important to note that we need to, as Muslims, to make sure that we know our calendar. We know our months, the lunar months. And this is how we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Hajj and Ramadan and the lunar days and so on.
So even to us, according to us, the division of time itself is divine for us.
Yes.
It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Definitely.
Okay. Sheikh, if we can go to verse number 37, I'll have one of the reciters recite it for us. Qari Muhammad Noor, if you don't mind reciting verse number 37 for us, inshallah.
إنما النسيء زيادة في الكفر يضل به الذين كفروا يحلونه عاما ويحرمونه عاما ليواطئوا عدة ما حرم الله فيحلوا ما حرم الله زين لهم سوء أعمالهم والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Qari Muhammad. Sheikh, let's start with the second word in the verse, which is nasi. Can you explain this to us? What is nasi?
Now, the word an-nasi literally means something that is deferred, something that is been for some later time. That's why it even comes with matters of riba and so on.
Yeah.
But here it refers to something that the people of Jahiliyyah, of ignorance, the disbelievers, they did something in which, as we know, the 4 sacred months, 3 consecutive ones, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah and Muharram, and Rajab, which is separated from them. So the people of Quraysh and others, whenever they would fight, and they would respect the sacred months, and they won't fight in these months, but they might need to fight in the month of Rajab. So what did they do is that they would defer, make another month like Safar, make it haram, make it a sacred month, that particular year, so that they'll be able to fight in the month of Rajab. Basically, making their own religion, making their own, the months of Al-Ashhur Al-Hurum. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is condemning them that they're making permissible what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it forbidden and sacred for them. And this was something they took from the religion of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And that's how زُيِّنَ لَهُمْ سُوءُ أَعْمَالِهِمْ, this is how their evil actions has been beautified for them. And to take resemblance of this, this is the same if a Muslim would change the orders of Allah to fit one's desire, you know, and changing something in the religion of Islam. Although it sounds very bizarre, but when some people, for example, change the Jumu'ah prayer to have it on Sunday, for example, because Sunday is more convenient to them. You know, this is something like this.
Okay. And is there a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made 4 of these months sacred, or is it just ta'abudi?
What we take from it is it's ta'abudi. This is what they say. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us and we listen and we obey. There's a wisdom behind it. Definitely there's a wisdom behind it. One of which is this is the month of Hajj, including the first 2, Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah. And then Muharram being the best month when it comes to fasting after the month of Ramadan, as the Prophet ﷺ said. And the month of Rajab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best the wisdom behind these months.
Okay, Sheikh, I want to move to verse number 41. It says, وَجَاهِدُوا بِأَمْوَالِكُمْ وَأَنفُسِكُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you to struggle with your wealth and with your souls. Why did He choose these 2 specific things?
Now, being generous as a Muslim in Islam, we're supposed to be generous with whatever thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. Whether it's our wealth, ourselves, right, and our status, our positions, our whatever there is, even the knowledge. Part of our deen is that when you learn something, is that you give that to others, you teach others. So generosity is a very comprehensive word. And the most 2 things that people are stingy with, wealth and their own lives. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to take that out of the hearts of the believers to make them all for the sake of Allah. Nothing is left for them. And once a person is able to defeat his own stinginess, this is the real successful one. So when we're ordered to spend from our wealth, and it's not the whole entire wealth, right? It's a small portion. This is a sign that the person had overpowered his own weakness and stinginess, and to be generous to others. And the same thing when it comes to oneself. That's in the context of the jihad, fighting for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the highest level of the deen of Islam, that a person is willing to give his life to make the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala superior.
Okay, Sheikh, if we look at verse number 44, does that relate back to verse number 41?
Yes, because the hypocrites, and this is something that Surah At-Tawbah, it's called Al-Fadiha. It exposes the hypocrites, exposed them at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. They used to seek permission from the Prophet ﷺ not to go out and fight with the Prophet ﷺ. Again, stinginess. They care about their own selves. They don't care about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They think that this is how to save their life and not to put themselves in harm's way. So they would ask the Prophet ﷺ, to stay behind, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemning them and saying those who believe in Allah and the last day, they would never seek permission from the Prophet ﷺ that they would stay away from fighting and struggling with their own wealth and their own selves. So as a sign of hypocrisy, if a person is stingy, he's not giving for the sake of Allah the due portion of his wealth, and also when he's asked in the proper way, of course, to give even one's life for the sake of Allah, to put one's life in harm's way, fighting for the sake of Allah, then it becomes mandatory. If the person of authority, the leaders, for example, of the Muslims, and they would encourage such a thing or order them, then there's no choice but for people to go and to respond to this call.
Okay. And what would you say are, I mean, there's such an emphasis on being generous in Islam, whether it comes to donating, whether it comes to giving your time even. Why would you say there's so much emphasis placed on sharing everything that you have?
If we relate back this to the purpose of our life, and that is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, part of that is to purify our hearts from our desires. One of the goals of the Sharia, as Imam Shatibi and others they said, is to take the person outside of his desire to follow, and rather to follow the orders of Allah. And the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not contradict our desires, but it makes us follow the truth. Right? So this is part of it, is that nothing on the face of earth will take us away from seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes the wealth takes us down, makes us stingy, makes us greedy. And the same thing with one's knowledge, with one's smile even. In Islam, smiling to a Muslim, this is a charity. Why? Because it brings joy onto the other side. And this is something that is a sign of generosity. It's sadaqah, as the Prophet ﷺ said. A charity. Even when a husband put a morsel of food in his wife's mouth, this is a charity that he will be rewarded for. Spending on his family, this is a mandatory charity, and it's in the books of good deeds of that person. So you can actually explain the whole entire religion of Islam from the perspective of being generous. Being generous with your time. You stop your work, you stop everything for the salah. Right? Business, whatever there is, you leave that for the sake of Allah, so that you would establish the salah. And this is what the Sahaba radiallahu anhum did. And it's part of stinginess, really, when people are in a business meeting or whatever there is, and they would delay their salah or neglect their salah. This is stinginess. This is not being generous. Even if a person is given charity to a poor person and it's time for the salah, we need to put forward the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because being generous is not just with wealth, with one's time, with one's effort, with one's heart, for the heart to be all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
All right, thank you very much, Sheikh. We're going to take a short break and then we'll continue our conversation, inshallah. Dear viewers, stay tuned, because as soon as we come back, we will continue with the recitation of a selection from Surah At-Tawbah, so stay tuned.
وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون. وإذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا لعلكم ترحمون.
Welcome back to Quran Circle 2. Now, before we went for that short break, we were speaking about generosity versus stinginess. So let's start off this part by having Qari Muhammad Noor recite from verse number 50. So tag along and enjoy.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إن تصبك حسنة تسؤهم وإن تصبك مصيبة يقولوا قد أخذنا أمرنا من قبل ويتولوا وهم فرحون قل لن يصيبنا إلا ما كتب الله لنا هو مولانا وعلى الله فليتوكل المؤمنون قل هل تربصون بنا إلا إحدى الحسنيين ونحن نتربص بكم أن يصيبكم الله بعذاب من عنده أو بأيدينا فتربصوا إنا معكم متربصون قل أنفقوا طوعا أو كرها لن يتقبل منكم إنكم كنتم قوما فاسقين وما منعهم أن تقبل منهم نفقاتهم إلا أنهم كفروا بالله وبرسوله ولا يأتون الصلاة إلا وهم كسالى ولا ينفقون إلا وهم كارهون فلا تعجبك أموالهم ولا أولادهم إنما يريد الله ليعذبهم بها في الحياة الدنيا وتزهق أنفسهم وهم كافرون ويحلفون بالله إنهم لمنكم وما هم منكم ولكنهم قوم يفرقون لو يجدون ملجأ أو مغارات أو مدخلا لولوا إليه وهم يجمحون ومنهم من يلمزك في الصدقات فإن أعطوا منها رضوا وإن لم يعطوا منها إذا هم يسخطون ولو أنهم رضوا ما آتاهم الله ورسوله وقالوا حسبنا الله سيؤتينا الله من فضله ورسوله إنا إلى الله راغبون إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم ومنهم الذين يؤذون النبي ويقولون هو أذن قل أذن خير لكم يؤمن بالله ويؤمن للمؤمنين ورحمة للذين آمنوا منكم والذين يؤذون رسول الله لهم عذاب أليم يحلفون بالله لكم ليرضوكم أحق أن يرضوه والله ورسوله أحق أن يرضوه إن كانوا مؤمنين ألم يعلموا أنه من يحادد الله ورسوله فأن له نار جهنم خالدا فيها ذلك الخزي العظيم يحذر المنافقون أن تنزل عليهم سورة تنبئهم بما في قلوبهم قل استهزئوا إن الله مخرج ما تحذرون ولئن سألتهم ليقولن إنما كنا نخوض ونلعب قل أبالله وآياته ورسوله كنتم تستهزئون لا تعتذروا قد كفرتم بعد إيمانكم إن نعف عن طائفة منكم نعذب طائفة بأنهم كانوا مجرمين المنافقون والمنافقات بعضهم من بعض يأمرون بالمنكر وينهون عن المعروف ويقبضون أيديهم نسوا الله فنسيهم إن المنافقين هم الفاسقون وعد الله المنافقين والمنافقات والكفار نار جهنم خالدين فيها هي حسبهم ولعنهم الله ولهم عذاب مقيم كالذين من قبلكم كانوا أشد منكم قوة وأكثر أموالا وأولادا فاستمتعوا بخلاقهم فاستمتعتم بخلاقكم كما استمتع الذين من قبلكم بخلاقهم وخضتم كالذي خاضوا أولئك حبطت أعمالهم في الدنيا والآخرة وأولئك هم الخاسرون ألم يأتهم نبأ الذين من قبلهم قوم نوح وعاد وثمود وقوم إبراهيم وأصحاب مدين والمؤتفكات أتتهم رسلهم بالبينات فما كان الله ليظلمهم ولكن كانوا أنفسهم يظلمون والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة ويطيعون الله ورسوله أولئك سيرحمهم الله إن الله عزيز حكيم وعد الله المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها وعد الله المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ومساكن طيبة في جنات عدن ورضوان من الله أكبر ذلك هو الفوز العظيم.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, Qari Muhammad Nur. That was beautiful. Thank you.
May Allah accept.
Inshallah, Ameen. Sheikh, let's start with verse number 53. If you can just give us a brief explanation of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying about those who give charity.
No, alhamdulillah, salatu wasalam, rasulullah. Being generous is conditioned. And this condition is that the charity or the generosity has to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And the person has, of course, to follow the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah 53 is saying to the hypocrites, spend, whether you do that willingly or unwillingly, when they're forced because they have to spend from their zakah and so on, it would never be accepted from you. Why? Because you were fasiqeen, and fasiqeen in that sense, not just sinners, but people that are of disbelief. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained that after that in the next verse, that what prevented them from having their deeds and their charity to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that they disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They don't come to the salah unless they're coming with laziness, and they don't spend unless they're forced and they have to spend. Which is some of the characteristics. A person might be a believer, but he feels lazy when he's going to the salah. This is one of the characteristics of hypocrites. So we have to make sure that we purify ourselves from that characteristics. But the other is all in the context of these major hypocrites, that they committed the major hypocrisy, which is they had kufr, disbelief inside, and they pretended to be Muslims. And it shows that how the word fasiqeen here, as it's mentioned in the ayah, we have to be careful with the context of the verses. Because of the word fasiqeen can refer to those who commit major sin, and it can refer to the disbelievers, so that we don't rush into making judgments of certain actions. So things has to be put in perspective.
Okay, Sheikh, since we're speaking about generosity and stinginess, and that's our theme for this episode, let's go to verse number 60 and speak about some of the categories of people that you should spend your money on. But before we actually get into the details of it, we'll have one of the reciters recite verse number 60 for us, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتِ. Inshallah, if Qari Ahmed can recite this verse for us, it will be great. Thank you.
إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم.
Thank you very much, Qari Ahmed. Thank you. Sheikh, let's take each and every category one by one, starting with where it says إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتِ. Is this speaking about zakah, or this is the same individuals that can receive any sort of sadaqah?
No, this ayah refers to the zakah. And that's why this is the mandatory charity that takes the person of stinginess. If a person wants to be not stingy, then paying the zakah would take the person out of that category. And then the levels of charity and generosity goes beyond that. But it's mentioned the categories of people, 8 categories of people, those who would receive the zakah, and not just general charity. It has to be to these specific categories only. One of them or all of them has to be only to these specific individuals.
Okay, so let's start with fuqara and masakin. Who are these two?
The fuqara, if the word fuqara, poor, is mentioned in general, it refers also to the masakin, which means poor. But in the context where both are mentioned, one is poorer than the other.
Okay.
So the fuqara are much poorer than the masakin. And as the ulama, they define it, you can say, for example, the fuqara, those who do not even have half of their necessities of provisions. And the masakin, those who have more than half, but still less than what they need from their necessities. So this is the fuqara and the masakin, those who are poor.
Okay. And how about وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا?
Al-amilina alayha, those are the workers that are entrusted to collect the zakah and to give it to others. And this is the people that are entrusted by the person of authority. So the leader of the Muslims. So we have to be careful because this is very important. It's not the ones in the masajid collecting the charity to give zakah. This does not apply unless the person of authority, the leader of the Muslims, he would appoint these people, not those who are volunteering, working in the masajid.
Okay, so these are the actual people that are appointed to go and collect the
Because
zakat.
it's a very tough job to go to the people and to collect the zakah and to count and so on and so forth. It's like accountant nowadays.
Okay. And then after that it says وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُم. Who are these people?
Al-mu'allafati qulubuhum, those who their hearts are inclined to the deen of Islam. And it refers to the leaders among the disbelievers, those who their hearts can be gained. And if they become Muslims, nation can, or many people that can come into the fold of Islam. Or someone that, for the Muslims to push away his harm, that is harming the Muslims, to give a portion of the zakah to that individual to push away that harm, this is definitely also permissible.
Okay. And some people say there are no more, there's no more people from this category. Is that true?
We cannot say that because it can still not present in certain parts of the world and it can present other situations. It can rise more in the future. So it's not really an accurate statement to say there is no such a thing.
Okay, and then the next person or category that was mentioned is وَفِي الرِّقَابِ.
To free a slave, freeing slaves, which is, again, it shows how the deen of Islam, the encouragement after encouragement, part of which the zakah money to be given to free slaves from the zakah money.
Okay, and then after that, وَالْغَارِمِينَ.
Now, al-gharimin, those who are in debt, and the time for the debt comes, and either they pay or they going to be imprisoned, for example, and they have to pay. Then they are in need, and they don't have the means to pay their debts. So these are one of the categories where zakah money can be given to these individuals. But not the ones that have deferred payments, and they're able to do it 1 month after another. No, it's the ones that have to pay all of their debt immediately, otherwise it can be consequences to that.
Okay, and then the last two, وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ and
وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ is strictly to fighting for the sake of Allah, because that's what the context of the verse is. وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ and the wayfarers. Those who they're trying to go back home, but their ways is stranded and they need to go back. So to be given only what's sufficient for them to go back.
So, like you said in the beginning, this verse is specifically speaking about zakat. Now say I want to give sadaqah, do I start with these people as well, or who should I start that with?
For general sadaqah, this can be to these people or to whatever means of goodness. You can give sadaqah to a masjid, to building a hospital, to orphanage, or to these individuals, these categories. And the more there is need, the more the charity is rewardable from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, Sheikh, one question about the next verse. It says that there are people who call the Prophet ﷺ udhun. What is udhun?
Udhun is ear, basically. And it's basically listening to everyone and not being, they attack the Prophet ﷺ with whatever means of belittling the Prophet ﷺ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuting them and calling the Prophet ﷺ that he believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he believes for the believers, meaning, and he's all means of mercy to the believers, and he's the source of iman for the believers because he conveyed the message to them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and warning those who harm the Prophet ﷺ even with the slight word that they have a severe punishment in the hereafter.
Okay, Sheikh, just one more question before I ask you to kindly summarize the theme for us today. If we look at verse number 67, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the hypocrites. And then if we look at verse number 71, he's also describing the believers in the exact kind of opposite way. Why do you think he chose these specific descriptions for believers and hypocrites?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows best His creation. And that's why I keep on repeating this meaning that it's from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that things are laid down clearly in the Quran so that nobody would have an excuse. You choose for yourself. You want to be from the hypocrites or you want to be from the believers. And their characteristics are totally different. Although the hypocrites, they can be confused with the believers because the outside appearance and actions can look the same. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is exposing them. And that's why we have to warn ourselves. If someone shows some of these signs, we don't point finger and say that he's a hypocrite, but we protect ourselves from making them close, being in positions of authority, and to purify ourselves if we find ourselves falling into these categories. Who would order people to do evil and forbid al-ma'ruf, forbid goodness, whispering to people, calling people to do haram and for them to stay away from what is good, and they're stingy, they don't give for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead of forgetfulness, they're so much following their desires and committing sins. They are fasiqeen, following their desires and committing sins. All of this is signs of hypocrisy. You should not trust someone that has these characteristics.
So we can say that being stingy, or the act of stinginess, is a characteristic of those that are hypocrites.
Definitely. But again, with being careful not to point
we don't
finger.
label them, obviously.
Right.
We don't label
But this is an action that we need to purify ourselves from and to warn ourselves against these individuals, not to be too close, but to advise them definitely and so on. The opposite of that, you would find the believers. They are supporters to one another, not against one another, not splitting from one another. They support one another. They enjoy what is good and they forbid what is evil. And what is good and evil is not again what the society dictates or what people think. It's all from the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. They establish the Salah in the masajid, in the houses of Allah with its all of conditions and pillars and so on. They give the zakah not with hate and not with discomfort, but they give it not just willingly, but they love it. Why? Because it's the way for them to purify their wealth, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered them, and in general, they obey Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Therefore, whoever, when we see a disobedience to Allah or His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this is a sign of hypocrisy. And we have to purify ourselves from this. And then the most beautiful thing is, these are the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy on. So if we want to subject ourselves to the mercy of Allah, this is the way to do it. And it's easy by the will of Allah for those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy.
I was going to ask you to summarize everything, but I think the last two verses that we just spoke about did just that. So I want to thank you for coming out here and joining us once again, Sheikh. We benefit so much from your knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And we hope to see you for many more episodes, inshallah. And I want to thank both of you, Qari Muhammad and Qari Ahmed, for coming out here and sharing your beautiful voices with us. Thank you.
You're welcome, brother. Jazakallah khair.
Dear viewers, I hope you guys are enjoying these episodes so far. Don't forget to catch us next time on Quran Circle 2. And until then, may God bless us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
مبشرا ونذيرا